Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to your Thursday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets. Back on Thursdays, Drew, like we used to be back in the day when we were, Tuesday and Thursday. I know Jared mentioned that in the comments a couple weeks ago, and no, it was not a fever dream. We used to go only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but now you got to see our ugly mugs every day of the week. So, Drew, welcome to the Thursday show.
Yeah, glad to be here. That's probably my fault because as you were gallivanting through the Midwest last week in Colorado, I started the Tuesday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show saying that this was the first ever Tuesday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show, in which Kenny said, weren't you exclusively on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a little while? And I was like, yeah, that happened. Short period of time, but yeah. So that's my fault. Listen, short-term memory fails me a lot, but you're over here. Hey, a question. Did you do your homework assignment?
What was my homework assignment?
Did you do your homework assignment?
Clearly not, because I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, well, this is a feeling that you felt before of stunned and trying to remember what in the world you were supposed to do. You did not watch the New Heights podcast with Taylor Swift, I guess.
Absolutely not. Apparently, though, the Swifties are loving our TikTok video and has blown up the comments trying to get a duck boat song.
As anybody knows, I have severe FOMO. Like, it's one of my worst qualities is that I feel like I have to be in the know on everything. It's the reason why I can't ever just ditch social media like I say I want to. It's because I feel like I'm missing out. So,
sure.
Yes, I've made it about halfway through the podcast. It's incredible. She's a human. Like, and what's so fascinating to me is that she's got to be one of the more mysterious people in the world when it comes to like speaking, because she said on the show, this is 2025. She's like, never done a podcast before. And I was like, this is weird. Like, how in the world do you make it this long without ever being on a podcast? But Swifties are real. I went through and looked at their YouTube, like just the New Heights podcast. It is one of the biggest podcasts in the world, if not the biggest sports podcast in the world. It may be bigger than Pardon My Take right now. I don't know. But they were getting around anywhere between 100,000 and 300,000 views per episode. It's a weekly show per week.
Great show. Great show.
On the premiere last night when I looked, 1.5 million. I checked before this show started. It is over 10 million views already. It is stupid what the Swifties can do. Like, you're over here insulting it. Can you imagine the sponsors we could get if we just got the Swifties?
Listen, Taylor Swift, if you're watching, come on the Two Buck Sports Show.
1/100th of the Swifties tune into the Two Buck Sports Show, and you just piss them off. Like,
that's not it. Like, I loved the early days of Taylor Swift. She was quirky. She was fun. It was good country. Like, I liked her stuff.
She was 16, right?
I have no issues with her and her music. I made that very clear on the show the other day.
You just hate her subject material.
I just hate her fans. The Eras tour was the wildest. Like, I felt like I was living in a simulation watching these people have full-blown meltdowns in the 150th row at the top of the stadium. They can't even see her except for the screen up there, and they're having a full-on existential crisis.
It is wild. However, I would say those people are cooler and more hip and just less weird than the people who still to this day at 90 years old follow around like the Grateful Dead. Like deadheads. Those people are just holding on for too long. At least Taylor Swift is relevant today.
Yeah, the deadheads are a whole different. And look, I get it.
And my dad's a parrot head. My dad wept when Jimmy Buffett died. Yeah. And until the day Jimmy Buffett died, my dad was going to at least one Jimmy Buffett concert a year.
I was in college the first time I ever went to Wrigley Field, and I got misty-eyed because it's just this is where I've always wanted to be. And it was just like I'd grown up watching the Cubs, finally seeing I turned the corner and there it is, and it's just like I get the feeling, but I don't get upset when other people don't share that same feeling. But if you don't weep and sob at any time Taylor Swift farts on a microphone, then like the Swifties will come and scalp you.
You said you didn't watch the show. You obviously did, because she started off the New Heights podcast with farting into a microphone. It was strange. It was
the hottest thing.
She's a lightning rod that like only like maybe Sydney Sweeney is, but like if Taylor Swift wanted to get weird and sell off bathwater or
oh my god
or anything, any cat hair, she would double her. She's like a billionaire. Like she's like a legit billionaire. She would be a multi-billionaire if she wanted to get a little weird, a little freaky.
I mean, that's it. But like, that's all so apparently that's all we're going to talk about Taylor Swift today, because we're going down a rabbit hole that I do not want to approach, selling bathwater and farts in a jar or whatever we're selling. Like, I'm leaving all of that alone. And that is my illustrious co-host. And I'm going to get
business is making money. There's some weird folks out there.
I'm going to give Drew a break from the screen and talk to y'all about Ounce of Hope for a couple of minutes, because Lord knows we're going to need it on this show now. But ounceofhope.com, code Bluff City gets you 15% off your first order. Y'all can hang out this Saturday, 1 p.m., choking and toking in Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu. It's going to be a great time, great event, hanging out on a Saturday afternoon. Look, it's hot outside. It's going to be cool in there. Come hang out with us there. And then we are 2 weeks away from the college football Saturdays at Grind City Brewing. Plenty more details about that to come, but I want y'all to remember that college football is here, and Grind City Brewing is going to be your premier destination for college football this fall.
Choking and token. The Mid-South's first cannabis-themed jiu-jitsu tournament.
August 16th at Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu.
At 1 p.m. 21 plus to compete or consume.
Consumption not required.
Ounce of Hope is licensed by the state of Tennessee. This is all 100% legal hemp products. Everything's good to go.
We'll have gi divisions.
No gi divisions.
Madison bracket, guaranteeing 4 matches per division, plus an absolute winner.
Each fighter receives an Ounce of Hope gift bag, and there's prizes for every winner.
Check out the link below to sign up.
The intricacies in your music, man, it's almost like you can see it. When I'm listening to it, man, it's like it's 3D, like for real. When you have an idea for a track or idea, okay, I want to piece this with this, are you hearing things in your head? Are you seeing things? Or are you feeling things?
It's a combination for sure. And I would just walk around Manhattan trying to score everything I saw. I have always been a fan of scoring the moment. And so now when I sit down to make music, I'm pulling from a library of approaches to try to convey an emotion I just felt.
What does Memphis sound like when you're walking around Memphis?
Obviously, Memphis is a bit slower and darker, a bit more stutter-steppy. Memphis is much more broken chords, much more, flat sevenths. Honestly, not as pretty, right?
Yeah,
not as pretty, not as high frequency, not as vivid. It's such powerful music,
Check out the Anthony Sane Show Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. only on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. We talked about Shador. Let's talk about the second best quarterback in the entire world. And that's one Archibald Charles Manning. Is Archmania out of control, boys?
Yes. Simply put, yes. And to be preseason number 1 with a brand new starting quarterback that has played very little in college football is absurd to me.
He played in 3 games last year, notably UL Monroe, Mississippi State, and UTSA. And did he do some good things in those games? Yeah, absolutely. But let me ask you some questions. Is he a better natural thrower of the football than Garrett Nussmeier? Is he a better natural runner of the football than DJ Lagway or Lenora Sellers? Like, what do we really, in your opinion, hang our hat on when it comes to Arch Manning, because there's one thing very obviously that we hang our hat on, and that's his last name.
His last name. Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Two Buck Sports Show second segment here. Our first segment, we we always spend on Taylor Swift. So
I've talked about Taylor Swift more this week than I will have in my entire lifetime.
Welcome back, and you're welcome. Thanks everybody for joining in. We got the comment section going off. If you're watching this show anywhere else other than the Bluff City Media's YouTube page, stop it. Get over here to YouTube, Bluff City Media YouTube page. Give us a thumbs up in the comment. Give us a thumbs up and then join in the comments. Jared and Edward, Wayno, all the norms are in here. And listen, we also want to hear from you and give you maybe even some life advice. If you've got a question that's bugging you, something about life just doesn't seem right and that you need questions answered, you can feel free to reach out to us. We are also unlicensed therapists, and we would like to fill a segment with your problems and you have our solutions. Yeah. 2bucksportspod@gmail.com, or you can just slide into our DMs on Twitter at 2bucks_BCM.
Yeah, and we're here for the people. We want to hear for the people. We're here for the people. But it's time to talk sports, Drew. It is basketball season, right around the corner. I guess we're a little over 2 months away from the start of NBA.
Yeah, it starts around the middle of October, right? End of October.
And then college basketball is not far behind that. But today, on August the 14th, it is Thursday, August the 14th. We get the NBA schedule released this afternoon, naturally, after every single Bluff City Media show has played. Right? Anthony Sane ends at 2 o'clock, and the schedules get released at 2:30. But Drew, for me, as a guy who I got a half season pass for tickets next year, I'm excited to find out what the home games are going to be, when they're going to be. Maggie and I are going to Boston in November for a birthday trip for her. I'm hoping that if the Grizzlies are in Boston, I've already told her I'll do everything you want to do. But if the Grizzlies play in Boston, I might be going, and you're welcome to tag along.
I will do whatever you want to do. However, if the Grizzlies are in town, we will spend more money doing that than anything else.
Yeah, that's
to get into TD Garden.
Yeah, shout out Wayno in the comments. Appreciate that, brother.
Hey, we're not even going to send you anything.
Yeah, Taylor Swift is paying the bills, but yeah. So we'll find out what the NBA schedule is this afternoon, Drew. I'm curious who the first home game is going to be. I know we're getting robbed of a Desmond Bain return to Memphis this year, barring something kooky around the NBA Cup, which also got released. I'm sure you saw we were playing on Halloween night against the Lakers. There's a couple other, I think it's the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Pelicans, and the Clippers in order is how the NBA Cup is going to be, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I may have bookmarked it. There's a couple things here. Okay, I did not bookmark it. All right, so yeah, the Grizzlies play. Let me scroll down and find it here. They play Friday, October 31st. That is Halloween night. The first NBA Cup, Emirates Cup game is the Lakers at home in FedEx Forum, an 8:30 local tip. Then November 7th, Dallas at home at 7 o'clock. The 26th of November and the 28th of November is at New Orleans and at the Los Angeles Clippers. So national TV only on one of them, and that'll be the first one in FedEx Forum against the Los Angeles Lakers. So that's good. You like to play the Lakers in prime time. It does stink that it's at home. I mean, at 8:30.
But it's on Amazon Prime is what it's on, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. That's true. I saw Prime and I thought prime time.
So it's Amazon Prime, but the other three could be on ESPN or NBC. I doubt it because it feels like the only one of those four games that would be on a prime time slot would be against the Lakers. The only other one we might benefit from would be that Mavericks game simply because they got Cooper Flag and we're getting the Cooper Flag experience this year, right? They're playing we're going to get the Mavs a ton this year, even if they're going to be beaten up and banged up. And Anthony Davis may or may not play. We won't get Kyrie back till late into the season, but they're going to shove the Mavericks down our throat much like Taylor Swift. Pause. But I'm curious, like if we get another game on ESPN or NBC.
I'm curious to know if Pete and Brevin are going to be able to call games in their own prime, because when they're on the TNT, and we lost TNT this year, but the TNT primetime games were exclusive to TNT. I wonder if the prime games will be able to still listen to Pete and Brevin, because I always hated, like, I like to have the TNT games because you can immediately go over and watch Inside the NBA, and you get Chuck and Shaq and Charles and those guys to talk about your game first and recap your game first. So I liked that, but I hated that I had to listen to TNT's broadcasters.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm looking at. I do believe we can at least talk about one game, and I believe I'm like 95% sure about this. You can check me if I'm wrong, but the New Orleans Pelicans opening game was released. Was leaked rather, and it was a road game against Memphis. So I would say that the Grizzlies, you can infer from that, if it's correct, that it's quite possible that the Grizzlies season will open at home against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Which I like, because last year it opened at Utah and then they came home to Orlando. Maybe this is the NBA throwing us a bone since we didn't get a Christmas Day game, which I didn't expect to, but they took MLK Day game away from us and put Boston on there, who's just a trash team. It's not even going to be all that great next year. Maybe this is them throwing us a bone and saying, look, you know what? Since we took that away, you can start the season at home against New Orleans, a team that John Morant happens to be part owner of.
Yeah, I don't really care about the first game, but I do want the home opener to be a good team. You know, the first game last year was at Utah, and I didn't really care that we started on the road because the first home game, the home opener, was against Orlando, and that was a really fun game, really fun home opener. We were there for.
We were.
And so it sounds like the home opener could possibly be against the New Orleans Pelicans. It's a rivalry, I guess. You know, they're the closest in proximity. You've got the Ja Zion thing that never really materialized because neither of them stay healthy. Yeah. So I'm good with the New Orleans game for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good first home game, good tune-up game. We're likely going to be down at least Zach Edey, possibly Jaren Jackson Jr., and I still haven't seen any updates on Cedric Coward. So we don't know what that opening night roster is going to look like. Hopefully we get at least Cedric back, Jaren as well, and BC to play. So for it to be New Orleans for the first one, that's not the worst thing in the world. I
would suspect that Coward and BC are both good to play. I would put Jaren at the next most likely, and it's just not going to be Zach Edey. Zach Edey's not playing.
I told y'all back when this all first got released that Zach Edey would likely not be back until November or December, and I'm still standing by that based on some of the reports and stuff that are coming out and seeing him just now kind of progressing out of his boot. I think that there is a likelihood that it will be closer to Thanksgiving before we see him the second month of the season.
And given, I don't know when the Jaren news dropped, but didn't they say that they were going to release an update? Didn't they say like 12 weeks or something like that?
They're going to release, it'll be September. We'll get like an update in September, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I was going to say, I would be looking for an update around the 1st of September, a month out from the season, maybe. So maybe the middle of September for an update for Jaren. And I don't really know about Edey, but nobody's really expecting him to be there to start the season.
Yeah. Edward asked here in the comment, what are our real expectations for Cedric Coward? For me, it's just a guy that can come in and contribute. Like, I'm not looking for him to be the star. I know there's been this, like, we had this huge hype around the draft, right, where he's wearing the Michael Jordan shirt and being compared to Michael Jordan and all this sort of stuff. But for me, if he can come in and be a contributor early, giving us, 18, 20 minutes a game at the most, but being just a high-level, high IQ player off the bench, kind of like what we were hoping Gigi was going to be, that can come in and just be that bucket for the second line, get in the way defensively, and just be athletic with energy. Like, that's, if he can do those things, be athletic, play with energy, and get some shots to fall, then that's good for me. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be a dark horse rookie of the year and he's going to revitalize the franchise. It's still early, but if he could come in and be like I said, what we thought Gigi was going to be, then I think that's a home run draft pick.
Yeah, to me, I want my ceiling, I guess, is I hope that he is making it a real battle for the starting two-guard spot. I don't think that or 2 or 3. You know, Jalen and KCP. You know, I can see roles for either of them coming off the bench. I think that Coward's role, given the draft equity that you gave up and the position in which you took him, that they want him to be a starter.
Sure.
And I don't, if they want him to be a starter, and I think they do, like I said, draft capital and all, then I want them to feel like he is capable of starting this season. Will he? I don't know. But I would like to see him fighting for a 2-guard spot by the end of the year. I think he does a lot of things well. I'm with you, Rusty. If you're asking what are my expectations for him, I want him to do everything else other than need to have the ball. So finish the shot late in the shot clock, look good in the corner, get to your mid-range late in shot clock if it's there, but rebound, defend, just be a high floor player. That's what I want him to be.
Yeah, do the little things well. Like, I don't need you to go out and be our leading scorer or our leading shot taker, but find a niche, whether that's getting rebounds, hustle plays, getting transition buckets, creating some chaos offensively. Maybe he pairs alongside Ja really well as a kickout option, but just find your niche on this team, much like Jalen Wells. I'm not expecting necessarily like he's going to come in and be a lockdown defender or a guaranteed cold shooter in the corner, but just find a niche that you know you do really well and do that thing really well while the rest of your game develops.
Yeah, the big part of the Wells situation that we were not expecting that either. That was purely out of necessity and injury to Marcus Smart. Nobody expected that out of Jalen Wells, and I don't think it's fair to expect that out of Cedric Coward. However, I do hope that Cedric Coward is a better player than Jalen Wells. I mean, when you take somebody at 11 and you trade 2 first-round picks and a swap for, then you hope that he is going to be better than Jalen Wells. But I'm not placing that expectation on him because I think Jalen Wells was a diamond in the rough, a real incredible evaluation win for the Grizzlies.
Absolutely. And it's hard to bottle lightning twice like that. And maybe we'll get lucky, but I don't need to capture lightning.
Speaking of bottling.
Yeah. That's where you're going with that. We don't necessarily capture lightning twice, but like if he can come in and be a contributor, again, I'm going to keep the expectations lower because like, I was super high on GG. I'm going to tamper my expectations a little bit, but I think you put it best. If he could be a high floor player, somebody that's just not a net negative out there that's costing you the minutes that he's in, that's not costing you points.
Yeah, unlike GG, I have faith that Cedric Coward can affect the game outside of scoring. He's not going to be a negative. GG, a lot of it's immaturity and just being young, not immature as a person, but immature as a basketball player. Sure. He was not able to affect winning unless he was scoring. I don't have that fear with Cedric Coward.
No, Cedric at least says all the right things. His press conferences, every time he talks in front of a mic, I like the kid more. He just seems like his head's screwed on right. He's got a good like focus and vision of what he needs to be. And I think that's going to translate onto the court.
Here.
But Drew, we did see an announcement this week of the top 50 coaches in men's college basketball. Did you see that? I believe it's from On3 Sports. I'll put it in the show doc if not. But there was a list that came out ranking the top 50 college basketball head coaches. And here's your top 10. You got Dan Hurley, number 1, surprising nobody. Kelvin Sampson, Mark Few at Gonzaga, followed by Rick Pitino, Matt Painter at Purdue, Bill Self, Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, John Shire, and then Todd Golden at Florida, rounding out the top 10. And per FanDuel Sports here, right from FanDuel.com, you can get the odds for the most likely to win the college national championship next year. You got Florida, the defending national champs, clocking in at the 10th best coach, plus 1,700 overall odds. The odds on favorite being Purdue and UConn, tied at plus 900.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that in our market, the Memphis market, the biggest story from this list from On3 of top 50 coaches is that what Penny Hardaway is not on it.
Edwards on it too, man.
Yeah. So that is pretty crazy because I did see a tweet. I believe it was let's see what's our man's name that covers the Memphis
Roman
Tigers
Cleary.
for us. Roman tweeted out yesterday all of the coaches on this top 50 list that Penny has beaten, including my coach, who comes in at 13, Chris Beard, who I think
Not my
is
coach.
criminally underrated.
Not my coach.
Amazing, but
Who is also criminally underrated down at 41st.
41.
I think Chris Jans is a top tier, top shelf college basketball coach.
So Penny Hardaway, and I'm not quoting from this list here, but from my memory, he's beaten Dan Hurley in UConn last year. He's
I'm
beaten,
pretty sure he beat Houston
Rick
and
Barnes
too.
Didn't they beat Tennessee one time? They've beaten Ole Miss. Penny is underrated on this list. I don't have any argument with Dan Hurley, Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson probably should be number one if I was going to make one.
Agreed.
He is underrated at two somehow. Kelvin Sampson is an amazing basketball coach. I think the same thing about Patino and Painter and Self and Chris Oates and Bruce Pearl. I think all well-deserving. Todd Golden, the reigning champion of the coach of Florida, at number 10. You can make an argument that's too low. I mean, he just won a national championship. There's not 10 coaches on this list that have won a national championship.
Very true.
So,
I just think with consistency, because you've got like Painter and Todd Golden are relatively new still in their roles and new on the scene. Painter's been there a while, but as far as like developing that consistency, Purdue was like kind of like middle, and then all of a sudden the last few years they really rose to the top. So like I guess what I'm saying is new on the scene. I think Todd Golden at 10 is a good spot because I do think John Shire's got a lot of chops and he's got some like the guys like ahead of him. I could make arguments for them to be ahead of him. Nate Oates and Bill Self are ones that like they feel like they're in the right spot, but they can never seem to kind of win the big game. Like you said, Todd Golden has the national championship. You know, Dan Hurley has the national championship. Tom Izzo has the national championship at 12. And so it's like those guys have figured it out how to win. I think we're kind of getting to the point like, which Alabama is a football school. Like basketball is a far distant afterthought to them. They're probably content just being in like the Elite Eight and a top 10 team every year. But it feels like it's time that Nate Oates wins something. Like get to the promised land.
I'm trying to remember how long Nate Oates has been there, but I believe it's his 4th, 5th year there. I think he's done an incredible job at Alabama. He was really good at Buffalo, before he took over at Alabama. He came from Buffalo. He was a really good coach. I'd like to just plant my flag for people have forgotten, I think, and rightfully so. It's not recent memory what Chris Beard did at Arkansas Little Rock and at Texas Tech, and he had Texas right there, before personal screw ups, and he lost his job for it, paid his penance. I think Ole Miss is going to be really good this year. He's kind of gunning through the same thing that Lane did, where you're not able to yet quite get that high school player yet. Lane started recently, but it's taken 5 years. He's got in a bunch of really good transfers, including one guy from Europe that's coming over. And if you want to have a good basketball team, go find somebody from Eastern Europe. It's
fair.
But yeah. If I'm a Memphis fan, I think they probably should be the maddest of anybody on this list, if I'm being honest.
I couldn't agree more. Nate Oates has been in Alabama since 2019. They did go to the Final Four at the end of the 23-24 season, but got eliminated there. Again, nothing against the guy. He's a great coach. Clark has a story where he came to town for the Lighthouse tournament that they host over the Thanksgiving break every year when they have a lot of big-time players come in. Anybody, James Wiseman has played there. Devin Booker played there. It's been anybody who's anybody comes through the Lighthouse, at least from the Southeast. And Nate Oates was there recruiting a kid, and Clark and his middle son Ryder went and talked to him for a little bit. And then at the lunch table, Nate Oates saw him and came and sat with him and talked to my brother, and who is a huge Alabama fan, and his middle son Ryder. And so it seems like a good dude. It's time to start winning the big games.
Fair.
Nothing else really jumps out. I mean, it feels like the rest of the coaches are there. Chris Jans, again, clocking in at 41st. I think he's better than that. But again, if I'm going to say that about Nate Oates, Chris Jans is the same way. He's the first coach since Rick Stansbury to go back-to-back 20-win seasons. So, we're building some momentum, but we're kind of getting to that point where it's time to turn the page. I saw where Josh Hubbard is the second highest points per game returning scorer in the NCAA. He's projected to be there as well. Again, the guy's like 5. If he was 6'5", like he would be all world. But he's like 5'7".
He was 6'5", he wouldn't be at Mississippi State for his third year. You know?
No, but he's 5'7", and so the guy but he's tiny, but he can absolutely jump out the gym.
Yeah, I think that he is a really good coach. Chris Jan's a really good coach, but he's kind of reached a tier here, and so Mississippi State has got to get to the Sweet 16, I think, before you can jump a tier with Chris Jans.
That's fair.
Chris Beard made it to the Sweet 16 last year. First time Ole Miss had done it since like the early 2000s. I think Chris Jans is a really good coach, though, and if he can capitalize on Josh Hubbard being a junior this year, then he can make a jump for sure.
Absolutely. We'll see. College basketball, again, it's just right around the corner. We're getting ever closer. But before we get there, Drew, we do have something else that starts in 2 whole weeks. Football time.
That's right. We are. I don't know when the first game tips off, but like I said, I'm treating 2 weeks from Friday as opening day because you got Baylor and Auburn. It's the first big game that I'm really looking forward to. But then you got Saturday. You got Texas, Texas, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Georgia State. I mean, big rivalries going on that day.
Yeah.
We love our rivalry. We lost our Vanderbilt rivalry, and I guess we'll just pick up Georgia State. That's
something like that. But yeah, Drew, we've got some NFL news we're gonna get to in a minute. I'm super excited about that article that you sent me that's kind of evaluating the NFL franchises. But before we get to that, been a couple things that's been floating around on the internet that I want to get your take on, and I want to get our comment section take on. Drew, one of the ones that popped up, and I really like this. There are some awesome helmets in college football. Like it's that time of the year where you start, like, you kind of see some of the leagues. Tennessee, in big kind of breaking news yesterday, had announced they were moving away from Adidas to go to Nike, only to pivot and go back to Adidas to the tune of like $250 million. They're going to be one of the premier programs for Adidas. But one of my favorite things the week leading up to a game is ESPN always tweets out and puts out like uniform watch, right? Like we see what the teams are going to wear over the weekend. And it got me wondering, like, who has the best helmet in college football? Are you a fan? And I want to know, guys, in the comments, y'all let us know, like, are you a fan of the more traditional helmets, the Penn State, the Alabama, the Texas? Do you like the more flashy forwards, like what Oregon does and Florida State has done? You see TCU doing a lot. I know Ole Miss and State have helmets we kind of rotate out. Drew, you first. Are you more of a traditional guy, or do you like the cutting edge, like helmet transition changing kind of guy?
I don't like changing your helmet every week. So I guess that's where I kind of draw the line. Like Oregon, and I know they're the most forward-thinking uniform franchise in sports, but I've just never been a huge fan of it. But I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily a tradition guy, like when it comes to Penn State and Alabama either. I kind of like it in the middle. If I pick a traditional helmet I like, and I'm not a fan of this team by any means, but I think that the Michigan helmet is iconic. I do love the Michigan college football helmet. I do really love Notre Dame's Golden Domers. Of the traditional ones, they're my favorite. I love the Golden Dome on Notre Dame. I do, and I'm biased, but I do think that the powder blue Ole Miss helmet is an elite helmet. It should be on this list, especially if you're going to put teams like a helmet like SMU on it. Like, nobody ever thinks of SMU when they think of like elite college football helmets. No. Florida State's up there. I do really like the racist Seminole that they do. But I think that the best uniform combination in sports is the gray pants, red jersey, and the powder blue Ole Miss helmet. I think it's an elite combination, and it looks amazing when you go up against LSU every year and they're wearing their gold helmets and white shirt and gold pants. Like, I think that's the greatest uniform matchup in sports. I think Ole Miss and LSU do a really good job of it.
Only minimally biased there. So for me, I do like traditional helmets. I like that, like Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame's changed. They've had like 2 other helmets, but like I like the teams that don't change. Michigan being one of them. Like, I am a bit more a fan of that. But I do like some of the other ones. I like some of the ones King Meeks talked about Memphis a few minutes ago. I do like some of their helmets. I like the all white with the blue tiger stripes. I like that one. I think that one looks good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of chrome helmets. If you do a
I'm not
chrome
either.
helmet, I do not like chrome helmets. I don't like the
chrome.
Memphis chrome helmets. I hate the Kentucky blue or chrome helmets.
Right.
I don't like either one of those. For Mississippi State, it's easy for me. The old interlocking MSU is an elite helmet logo. I like the way it looks on the helmet. The cursive state is fine. Anything's better than the banner M. It's a huge improvement from there. A couple years ago, we did do one M over S baseball logo on our helmet, which was cool. But for me, like, I wish they would bring back the interlocking MSU from the 90s. I understand, like, we're an Adidas school now, so we don't get the
well, you know why you lost that though, right?
Because it was a Nike. It was due to Nike. We were a Nike school.
What I read, and this has been a long time, so I mean this could be wrong, but all of our logos and acronyms, and like Ole Miss does the UM, and then you've got the Ole Miss, and all that stuff is trademarked.
Exactly.
Mississippi State used to be MSU, but they let the trademark lapse. And Michigan State picked it up. So that's why Michigan State, when you see the shy run on the scoreboard and stuff, it's always MSU, and Mississippi State cannot use that anymore.
So that's part of what happened. It was trademarked with Nike. And when we were transitioned from Nike to Russell Athletics, of all things, we lost the trademark to MSU, and it fell away with the Nike uniforms. Now, Zach Selman said on a podcast this week that they're going to bring it back more and more, hoping to make that more of a standard combination for us, just because it is a testament to a good era of Mississippi State football. It looks the best. I've got the shirt with the MSU. Like, it just looks the best. And so I do like that helmet. Another one that, like, I don't really love orange, but just the Gators, like the cursive Gators on the orange helmet, is a helmet I've always kind of liked and been drawn to. I don't know why. Like, it's a cool helmet. It's a clean look. I like that. But when they did the white helmet, and I think it was the first time they ever did it was when Tim Tebow was there, and it still had that cursive Gators on there. That was a pretty sick helmet.
So 90% of the battle when it comes to having good uniforms is having good colors. I think that's why Mississippi State struggles more than anything. Like, nobody is just going to go to their grave saying like maroon's a good color.
I do like maroon.
And you do like maroon because you like Mississippi State. But I'm saying if you take somebody who is not affiliated, I think that you look, and I use this point to contrast. Florida has elite colors. Blue and orange is a great color combination. Red, white, and blue is a great color combination. It's really hard to screw up red, white, and blue. If you can think of, you take Ole Miss out of it, you think of a school that does red, white, and blue, it's really hard to screw that up.
I mean, SMU, like, I don't know why they're on this. I don't know why they're on here, but they're red, white, and blue when they do the D helmet or the pony helmet. Like, they do look good.
Right. And so that Florida has an elite color combination when done right. Now, they have royally screwed up before. If you remember the old Gators in jerseys they did a few years ago. Just awful. Like, don't screw it up if you've got a good color combination.
Oh, speaking of screwing it up, another one to think about there, I love like the green and white of Michigan State, speaking to them. But remember when they did those green with the highlighter yellow, like awful. State? It was awful.
Yeah, it's awful. And so just don't screw it up. Michigan State's like the forest green or whatever they call it is fine. You know,
it's an elite color.
It's a really good color. You don't really have a secondary color. My hot take when it comes to uniforms is I hate charcoal gray as a primary color. Like, I know there's a lot of Tennessee fans in here that'll fight me over this. I've never liked it. I do not like charcoal gray as a primary color on a uniform. Kentucky does this. Tennessee does this. I've always hated it.
Does it. Shout out Jared in the comments too. Tulane is elite. That white helmet with the wave.
Minor league baseball flair, like just doing some crazy stuff and hitting every time. Tulane does it, but I hate like Tennessee's baseball uniforms and that are like all charcoal gray. I think they're awful. Tennessee, their best uniform combination, and I'm not a fan of their orange either. Their Halloween that they do every year on Halloween with the black jerseys and the orange is elite.
The first time they did it, it was not, because they look like practice jerseys, and Alabama walked the dog with them in those, but they've gotten better as Adidas has gotten better. I'll ask you this next, Drew. For me, Mississippi State's best uniform combination is when we wear the gray pants, the maroon jersey, and a white hat. I like this, that contrast of the three. I also like when they do the maroon hat. Like I like them. I was about to say, if it's too many colors, give me a maroon hat with the interlocking MSU, a maroon jersey, and I like the gray pants. What's your favorite Ole Miss uniform combination?
Well, it's the only time I would ever wear the gray pants is with the red jersey and the powder blue top. That is kind of a throwback look too with gray pants. You don't see a lot of gray pants without a gray jersey. I like the powder, but I find myself being kind of. I want to replace the navy with the powder and just get rid of the navy. I'm not a fan of the navy anymore, so I would go a white jersey for road games, a red jersey, and then the powder on powder helmets, and then you can wear your navy helmet on the road. They did this weird thing where they did one time a navy jersey with a powder helmet. I thought that was awful. And they've gotten, and this is the NIL era and rev share and all this kind of stuff. They've gotten this Realtree camo business and gotten lots of money from a Realtree. Their owner is an Ole Miss grad, just like Mossy Oaks owner is a Mississippi State grad. And they've done the Realtree helmets this year. The white one with the camouflage with some powder was pretty cool. I didn't like the ones last year, the navy camouflage ones. They're going to do another one this year. They have not released it, but they are. I'm just very much, you'll do anything for the money and the donation nowadays, but I would simplify it a lot. You have a white helmet, a navy helmet, a powder helmet, white, red, and powder pants.
State had one helmet that they did. They wore it for one game. It was a military tribute game in like 21, maybe.
Oh, you're talking about the aerospace engineering logo?
With no. That one was cool with the M. That was from the Maroons. That one's for the original Mississippi State logo. It's got the M with the plane going around it. That was back when we were the Maroons. But what I'm talking about, it was gray and it had the Mississippi with the interlocking S's like you see on the signs when you enter the state. On the side of the helmet, it kind of a cool angle. It was like a dark in the front, kind of fading to gray in honor of a flying squadron that was based at Ennis Air Force Base there in Meridian. They were an elite military combo, and that's probably my favorite alternate helmet because it's got the original Mississippi with the interlocking S's underneath it, and the gray, the darkish, like it was like a black face mask, and it kind of faded to light going back. It was an incredible helmet, elite helmet.
Jared's put us on some homework here. Arkansas anthracite uniforms.
I
don't know.
I think Arkansas has a red chrome helmet that I just, anytime you do a chrome helmet, I'm just absolutely out.
Okay. Yeah. So he did those anthracite is like charcoal and charcoal that he was throwing me one. I hate. And I do. I'm a hater of that. I think I'm in the minority on that. So I'll admit that, but
it's fine. It's
charcoal and charcoal.
It's fine. But Drew, we also have one more thing to talk about in college football before we transition fully over to the NFL. Drew, is there a new class of blue bloods? So this is from Andy Staples on 3 Sports, talking about how the blue bloods have changed over the years. I agree with him with some of these teams on this list. Like for me, the first one that jumps out of the ones that he is calling blue bloods would be Miami and Southern Cal. If you're going to take off Nebraska and you're going to take off Penn State because of things that they did in the past and not really do anything recent, and I know Penn State was a playoff team last year, but like Miami was good last year. That's the first time they've been good in 20 years. Southern Cal has done nothing since Matt Leinart and Mark Sanchez and Reggie Bush. Like they haven't really been a great team. They had like 1 year, they had all this hype coming into the end of the season and they were going to be great. And I can't remember if that was Matt Barkley was the quarterback on that team. And they were barking like dogs in the tunnel, only to go out and get beat like 52-6 by Alabama in that opening game. To me, like the list is strong other than maybe those two. And I could also make an argument for Tennessee to not be a blue blood anymore.
I don't think I can argue about anybody that he's got on the list. I think of blue bloods, I do not think of like, what have you done for me lately? However, Nebraska should not even be on the miss the cut list because you have to go back too far for me. Like there is no recent history at all with Nebraska in like 30 years. So they have been demoted to even past miss the cut. I wouldn't put Auburn on there. Listen, I'm a hater of Auburn. I think that Auburn's self-ego and the reality expectation and reality with Auburn when it comes to what the general populace thinks about Auburn versus what Auburn thinks about themselves, there's no greater disconnect in sports than what it actually is Auburn and what reality is with Auburn. You know, you think of if they don't get Cam Newton, we are not talking about Auburn ever. All right, we're not even putting them in a class with anybody. Like they are South Carolina if it's not for Cam Newton. If Cam Newton chooses Mississippi State and not Auburn.
Yeah, if his daddy's church doesn't get an anonymous $180,000 donation at the last minute, he's a Mississippi State Bulldog. We don't talk about Auburn. I agree with that.
That's absolutely, and it's also like the greatest thing that's ever happened because Mississippi State would have a college football national championship if they were able to close the deal
100%.
with Cam Newton. So if you look at that, I also kind of hold the same feeling with Florida, although I give them a nod over Auburn. But you are Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer away from being nothing.
Yeah.
Like South Carolina. You can't really do that, though. So it's not really fair to do that because it did happen. And I'll give the nod to two great coaches over 1 year of Cam Newton. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. Because Auburn had they had Bo Jackson and they had Shug Jordan and those guys back in the 70s and 80s. And then they were a doormat until Cam Newton, and they haven't been anything since. Auburn's one of those teams, if you can buy them for what they're worth and sell them for what they think they're worth, you'll come out in the black every single time.
Yeah, that's like owning a sports franchise. That's a return on investment forever.
I mean, that's it. You know, because there's arguments, right? Yes, Miami and Southern Cal have not been good lately, but there was an era in the 90s and early 2000s when Miami was the team to beat. There was the same for Southern Cal in the – say again?
Dominant.
Like that 01 Miami team might be one of the best teams to ever be assembled. Like just an incredible team. Southern Cal, dominant in the early 2000s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. Like Notre Dame was dominant in the 80s. Like these teams have stories. But I think for me, of the ones that are on this list, I think Southern Cal and Miami are on the edge of falling out of blue blood conversation. I think Clemson very easily or should very well be in the list of blue bloods because, again, they've got history back in the early 80s. They've always been like a pretty good ACC team. Obviously, Dabo has taken them to another level. But but they've been going strong since 2016.
If I was going to take one to move down, I think it would be Tennessee. Because you had 98 and then you've had the last 2 years. And outside of that, you're going to have to really go back. And if there's one I would move up from that missed the cut, it would be Clemson. Because they have got a decade plus long run of Dabo of being really good.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with. So let us know who you think are your blue bloods. I know King Meeks is not loving all the Miami hate. He agrees with Tennessee never being a blue blood. Y'all let us know in the comments and put it on YouTube as well if you're watching this back later, and give us a like while you're here. But Drew sent me an interesting article as we start to wrap up the show here about NFL and their franchise valuation, what they're worth. And what I've got here from FanDuel is the win totals for the top 10 most valuable teams in the NFL, Drew.
Yeah, so here's what we're looking at here. So this it's really interesting to see kind of what they're worth. You know, yesterday on the show, the news broke that the Portland Trailblazers sold for $4 billion. Right. I think that is pretty low. You know, that's if you look here. So, and recently the Los Angeles Lakers sold for $10 billion. Okay. So I don't think it's any shock to anybody that the highest valued NFL franchise is the Dallas Cowboys. It's quite possibly the most marketable, most popular brand in sports. I think you could maybe make a case for the Yankees.
I think the biggest brands in sports would be it'd be a short conversation across the major sports, the Yankees, the Lakers, and the Cowboys, just because of their national draw and attention.
Right. That if you think of hats you see in middle America that people rock, it's like the branding and the clothing, it's those three. So number one, Dallas Cowboys with just shy of a $13 billion valuation.
That's wild.
Which is absolutely crazy. Number two, the Los Angeles Rams at almost $10.5 billion, and the only one that goes over $10 billion, only other one is the New York Giants. I can see the Giants being a historical big market franchise. There's no reason why the Rams should be on this list if they weren't in Los
Angeles. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's funny, Drew. Like, you look at this list too, and you've got to get down to the 5th team before they're like really relevant, going to be relevant this year. Because the Cowboys, we don't know what they're going to do with Micah Parsons. Dak and CD are an elite combination, but they don't really have a running game. Deuce Vaughn's too small. Like, we don't really know what that's going to look like. The Rams, Matt Stafford's got a back issue. So the 8.5 wins for the Cowboys and Rams, 5.5 for the Giants on FanDuel.com. Patriots at 8.5, and then you get the Niners and the Eagles at 10.5 and 11.5 wins before you get to teams that are projected to be division leaders and like better teams next year.
Yeah, so I think it's not really indicative of success. It's indicative of what market you're in. With the exception, this is probably this is the historical nature of it. The Las Vegas Raiders, they are now in Las Vegas. That gives them a bump. But even when they were Oakland, they were a big brand because of John Madden. And the fact that when they were in their heyday, they were one of the 4 teams that were regularly aired on cable television when you could only watch like 2 games a week. You were always getting the Steelers, you were getting the Giants, you were getting the Raiders, and the Raiders because they're really good and John Madden was their coach. And so you're seeing them, they're in the top 10, they're at 9 right now. The Washington Commanders, they just sold, but they're rounding out the top 10 at $7.5 billion.
And 9.5 wins for next year on FanDuel. Jared is asking for the Denver Broncos. They are 15th at $6.5 billion, sandwiched between the Seattle Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs. For Luke Hatmaker and my NFC team, the Chicago Bears are $7.45 billion at 11th.
It's just dawned on me why Jared is a Denver fan. He is a Razorback to the core. The Walton family owns the Denver Broncos. If I'm not mistaken, I'm really sure I'm right on that. But so that's the crossover there. I think one of the Walton daughters or something owns the Denver Broncos. He'll correct me in a minute if I'm wrong.
Sure.
The bottom 10 in valuations. The Tennessee Titans 22nd, which is honestly higher than what I thought.
Agreed.
Tennessee Titans are valued at $6.2 billion. The Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, that's surprisingly low for me when you think about historical franchises. Baltimore Ravens at $6 billion. 24th, Baltimore, 25th, Detroit, 26th, Buffalo, 27th, Carolina, Indianapolis, Arizona at 29th. To no shock to anybody, the 30th is the New Orleans Saints. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars and Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are worth $5.5 billion. The New Orleans Saints, $5.63 billion. Listen, the owner, I'm trying to remember her name. Anyway, she owns the Pelicans and the Saints. None of them they're notoriously cheap. So.
The one that's interesting to me too is the Green Bay Packers clock in at $6.48 billion. The team that's owned by the people of Green Bay, right? Like they're the people's team. Everybody has a little small ownership in it. That for them to be 18th on this list was a bit surprising, given that there's not like that one family that truly, has like built the brand or whatever. I hate the Packers as a childhood Bears fan before the Titans moved to Nashville. I hate the Packers and it's a cool, the way they run their franchise is pretty cool, right? The season tickets, they ride their bikes to practice. Like it feels like of all the NFL teams, and I'm sure people in the comments can probably tell me some other ones, but it just feels like Green Bay is the city. Like they're really involved in their city and super like ingratiated more than some of these other ones, particularly the ones in the big markets.
The only thing working against Green Bay's their valuation is the fact that they're located in Green Bay, Wisconsin, a small town, Wisconsin. You're ceiling on that. But what's crazy is I've seen an article before recently where it talks about how much they were purchased for, the current owners purchased them for, and what they're worth now. The Green Bay Packers at one time were like sold for like $100.
Yeah.
Like it was just wild to me. Some of these prices that people paid for their sports franchises. There is no better investment to make. If you can scrounge up a couple $1 billion and buy a franchise, I promise you it will be worth more when you sell it.
Yeah. Wayno's probably got a couple billion laying around down there in Australia that he could kick over our way.
Don't think that I wouldn't be game with joining an ownership group with Wayno and Rusty and moving the Saints to Sydney, Australia, as long as it means I get a portion, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to disrespect the pack ever because I do not like Green Bay. That is for sure. But that's going to do it for your Thursday edition of the $2 Sports Show. I'm your co-host, Rusty Buckets, here always at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube. I'll be here tomorrow. Drew is out tomorrow, so I'm going to have another guest host with us tomorrow. So y'all come hang out tomorrow at 11 o'clock as we get you ramped up to your weekend. In the meantime, y'all need to go be a friend to somebody who needs a friend. And remember, there are no refunds for what you heard today.
That's right, because with the $2, you always get what you pay for. Y'all enjoy the show tomorrow, but I will see you again on Monday.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.